It's no joke what we face these days in Eretz Israel. But I would like to start with a question, like a good Jew. Yirmiyahu Lamed Aleph says to Rachel Imeinu, כה אמר השם, מנעי קולך מבכי ועינייך מדמעה. So said the Lord, don't cry so much and don't shed tears. כי יש שכר לפעולתך, נאום השם, ושבו מארץ אויב. Because there is a reward to what you do, and they will come back from the land of the enemy. But it continues. ויש תקווה לאחריתך, נאום השם, ושבו בנים לגבולה. There is a hope. נאום השם, and those children will come to their borders. And the question is, why did we need, or why Yirmiyahu needed two verses? First says, ושבו מארץ אויב, and the second says, ושבו בנים לגבולם. First of all, what is the difference? Secondly, why saying two things? If you say one, you don't need the other. If you say the other, you don't need the first. I will leave this question to the end. And the end will be actually the answer. Ladies and gentlemen, to the last month, we witnessed a wave of violence which was defined by stabbing, by the knife. So far, 10 Israelis lost their lives, over 100 heavily wounded, severely wounded. And everybody asks, what is it? Is this a new intifada? Is this a war or not? And people are puzzled because they don't know how to frame it. To what frame to put this wave of violence? Is it something which we knew already from the past? First intifada, second intifada, so this is the third? Or this is something from another kind? I know this because many journalists call me to ask this question. So I dedicated a few hours to write an article to explain what we experience these days. The main thing to understand is what we witness today and what we experience today is no more than another link in a long, long chain of violence, of wars, of bloodshed, of beheadings, which Muslims perpetrate against Jews. Nothing is new in what we witness today. It started with their Prophet Muhammad. They say peace be upon him, who slaughtered with his own hands hundreds of Jews in Medina, in the oasis of Khaybar. And this Khaybar, which was the place for massacre of hundreds of Jews, is still commemorated these days. Because those who go out to the streets in Gaza, in other places, in order to praise those who stab Jews, keep singing, Khaybar, Khaybar, Ya Yahud, Jaish Muhammad Sayaud. Means Khaybar, this is oasis where Muhammad already slaughtered Jews. Khaybar, Khaybar, O Jews, the army of Muhammad is coming back today. means something which happened 14 centuries ago is still not only alive and kicking, it is alive and killing. It started then. It continues today. The long chain. And the Islamic attitude to Jews, of course, there were times which were better and places which are better. The Rambam, Ramban, others. But along history, throughout history of the Islamic history, Jews had to live as dhimmis, as ahl dhimma, as second or third or even fourth class citizens under the rule of Islam. A Jew could not sue a Muslim to court. A Jew had to wear a yellow patch. This was not invented by the Nazis. It was already in Baghdad of the 9th century of the Caliph Mu'tasim. Jews were marked by yellow patches on their clothes. Christians by orange or pink. So this chokhmah of marking Jews by yellow patch was not invented by the Nazis. It continued in Spain, where Jews were forced to live under Islamic rule. Of course, they behaved. So most time, their life was okay, because they behaved according to the Sharia. And they gave the jizya, means the skull tax, masgul golet, when they are humiliated, as it's stated in the Quran. More severe problems started when Jews started to come back to their forefathers' land towards the end of the 19th century. The Ottomans, who were there in the country, were controlling the place, more or less. But there was violence, even them, the Ottomans. Tel Aviv was evacuated to Kfar Saba by the Ottomans. Who knows about this? For a while. And there are people from Tel Aviv who are buried in Kfar Saba because of this. Later, we had the massacres of 1920, 1921, 1929 in Hebron, and the riots of 1936 to 1939. And the Mufti, we'll return to him, who incited the Arabs, the Muslims, against the Jews. There was no Israel those days. There was no occupation those days before the state was established in 1948. Those people were slaughtered not because they were Israelis, because they were not state of Israel, not Zionists, because the community of Hebron were not Zionists. They were Jews. And this is the problem, because they are Jewish. And if you see today who is being stabbed mostly are religious Jews. Those who go around with payas and beard and dress like Jews. Why? Because the problem is Jews before it is Israelis or Zionists. It continued in 1948. All the Israeli soldiers who fell captives in the hands of the Jordanians in Gush Etzion, right next to Kever Rachel, were slaughtered by the Jordanians. Why? Did they pose any danger being handcuffed? Why were they slaughtered? And all the time of the Fidayins, the terrorists which came through the 50s and slaughtered families of Jews, and the bus in Ma'ale Akrabim in 1954, and the war of 56, and war of 67, and 73, and 82, all those wars were against the Jews. Because we kept hearing those slogans, Idbah al-Yahud, slaughter the Jews, not slaughter the Israelis, not slaughter the Zionists, slaughter the Jews. Judaism here is the problem. And the question is why? What the heck do they have the problem with Judaism? And for this, we have to understand their mindset. According to the Islamic approach to history and to theology, Islam came to the world not to live side by side with Judaism and Christianity. Islam came to the world to replace Judaism and Christianity, to nullify Judaism and Christianity. Both these religions became, according to the Islamic thought, Din al-Batil, means the religion of void, while Islam is Din al-Haq, means the religion of truth. There is a verse in the Quran which says, Inna dina inda Allah al-Islam. The religion at Allah's is Islam. Means Allah doesn't recognize anymore Judaism and Christianity. And therefore, since Islam came to the world to replace Judaism and Christianity, Islam is the higher of everything which Judaism and Christianity ever had. Therefore, according to the Islam, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and David and Solomon and Jesus Christ as well were all Muslims because they were prophets and they knew that Judaism and Christianity one day will be null and void. So what else could they be if not Muslims? Abraham tied his son Ishmael, not Isaac, according to the Islamic re-engineering of history and the stories of the Bible, which they copied and changed. Solomon, King Solomon, according to their version, built a mosque in Jerusalem. Now you understand why Kever Rachel is a mosque. Because everything which Judaism and Christianity ever had, they appropriate. The geography, the history, and the theology. They became the only religion which canceled retroactively Judaism and Christianity. The 20th century, they saw a series of accidents. Jews started to come to Eretz Israel and to purchase land which belongs to them. But they bought it. Then, in 1948, they established a state on part of Palestine, which is a land which is holy to Muslims only, according to their view. Jews are not eligible to have a state because they are not a nation. They are communities which belong everywhere in the world. The American Jews are Americans. They are not Israelis. The Jews in Yemen are Yemenite Arabs who happen to be Jewish, just like other Yemenite Arabs who are Muslims. My parents, who came from Poland, are Polish nationals. Okay, happen to be Jewish, like others in Poland who are Christians. Jews are communities all over the world. Who the heck gave them the idea that they are a nation or a people? So, the religion is void. They are not a nation. And the Palestine is holy to Islam. So Israel has absolutely no reason and no justification to exist because the religion which stands behind Judaism, behind the state, Judaism, is null and void. And the Jews are not a nation, only communities which belong all over the world. And the land is holy to Islam. So who the heck gave those Jews the permission to establish the state in 1948? Then, 1967, those Jews occupy another part of Palestine, the Holy Land, Waqf land of Islam, including Jerusalem. And what will be the next step? They will want again to build the temple, as they did already twice. So Judaism, by this, returning to Zion of Jews and establishing their state and sovereignty, Judaism will come back to life. Judaism will go through a process of resurrection. So what will be with Islam, which came to the world to cancel Judaism? This, in their view, is a theologic threat on Islam, because Islam cannot live with Judaism alive and kicking. And unfortunately, from their side, Judaism is not only alive and kicking, it is alive and killing, because those Jews dare to defend themselves. They dare to fight. And they dare to shoot. Because when they have to shoot, they don't talk. And this is the mindset of the Israelis. And this is, therefore, not an intifada, and not a terror. This is a jihad. Because Islam is under threat by the mere existence of the State of Israel. Islam now has to defend itself, and this is a holy war of Islam. During the last weeks, we see the funerals of those jihadists who want to stab Jews. And there is a sign, which already I saw the picture of the same sign. It is printed in 2 funerals. It says, "Qatl Sahayina, ibada nataqarrabu biha ilallah." Means in English, killing the Zionists is ibadah, avodah. Avodat ha'el means mitzvah. Nataqarrabu biha illallah. Nataqarrab, nitkarev, which we get closer to Allah by killing Jews. You don't need more than this to understand the religious motivation of this war. Add to this the Khaybar, Ya Yahud, where Muhammad slaughtered Jews. Everything here is about religion. Idbah al-Yahud. Of course, there are some newer layers like nationalism, territorial issues, legal issues, but the foundation of the problem of the land of Israel, the state of Israel, and the Jews in Israel is religious, because before it is anything connected to territory, connected to human rights or political freedoms or legal rights. It is, first of all, a threat, as they see, to Islam. And this is why the only word how to describe it, or the only frame which we can put it into, is jihad. And jihad is a holy war which Muslims are ought to wage against everyone who threatens Islam. And this actually solves this question, what do we see today? And this puts everything into the right frame in order to understand what we see. But not only this, the knife became fashionable way much more than we witnessed in the previous rounds of violence, in the previous links of the chain of violence. And the question is why? Why, especially the knife, is the device which they use today extensively? The answer is very clear. They actually emulate the Islamic State, what is called ISIS, or Dalat al-Khilafah, the Caliphate in Syria and Iraq. They watch day and night the clips which the Islamic State produces. They see it through the social media, Facebook, YouTube, on the cell phones which everybody has. And they see how those people in Syria and Iraq, how they behead Americans, how they behead Jews. John Sotloff was Jewish. how they behead the Yazidis, how they behead the Alawis, how they behead everybody, and they actually found a way how to strike terror into the hearts of the whole world. And look at how many states are fighting them. Boots on the ground, not even one. Not even one state dares to go there. Not even one statesman dares to send his soldiers, because he is afraid that they will be caught in the hands of this Islamic State and they will be beheaded in front of the cameras. And everyone of those Muslims sees this and they admire it, because they understand that those thugs in Syria and Iraq, they found a way how to deter the world, how to fight the infidels, what to do to them, and actually they walk on the footsteps of Muhammad, who beheaded his enemies as well. Means they are on the march to revive the 7th century, when Islam was the conqueror's religion, when Islam succeeded to topple the Byzantines, the Christians, the Persians, the Zoroastrians, and they actually fulfilled the prophecies, כאסוף ביצים עזובות כל הארץ אני אספתי, like Nebuchadnezzar. They collected all the lands like abundant eggs on the ground. And they want to return to that century. And there are many signs. Their coins and their flag remind of the 7th century, because they use the same writing of the 7th century. And people in Israel and in the Palestinian Authority, those people look at these clips day and night, and they are convinced that this is the way how to fight the Jews with a knife, just like their brethren in the Islamic State, which is only what, 200-300 kilometers from where we are, right behind the corner. So what we see today is a jihad which uses the tools and the ideas and the modi operandi, the way of conduct, as Islam was using in the 7th century, the most glorious, the most prosperous century of Islam, which they all, not all, many, long for that century. בבחינת ותחזינה עינינו. To renew the 7th century. And what we see today against us is exactly the same thing. How can we face it? If this is a religious war, first of all, it will be forever. Because if Allah is the main player in this war, He does not give up. He does not sign agreements. His demands are absolute. How can you face it? The answer is very simple. Muhammad gave them a precedent of what can be done when the infidels are too strong. In the year of 622, he ran away from Mecca to Medina, the Hijrah, Hagira, 622. 6 years later, in 628, he decided he is powerful enough, and he went down to Mecca to conquer Mecca. But the Meccans knew what he wants to do, because they had good intelligence, and they prepared a very big army against him, and they came to meet him on his way to Mecca. And both armies met each other near a village named Hudaybiyah, somewhere between Mecca and Medina. They met through the night, and in the morning, Muhammad wakes up to see, and he sees in front of him a giant army, armed, trained, with long swords, swords longer than his. And he understood that if he messes with them, it's the end of him. So he sat with them, and they came to an agreement of peace, temporary peace, for 9 years, 9 months, and 9 days. Almost 10 years. It is called the Peace of Hudaybiyah. They signed the contract, the peace contract. He went back to Medina, they went back to Mecca, and they waited to see what his intentions are. Year passed, he didn't do anything. Another year passed, he didn't do anything. So they believed that he took this peace seriously, and they have 8 more years to go to business. So they went to business, to the convoys, they went to India, they went to Asia Minor, what today Turkey is, and they left the city, they left Mecca with some guards, the women, the children, and the old people. But he also had a good intelligence, and when he knew that they went to business, he took his army, raided Mecca, killed all those who didn't convert to Islam, converted the others to Islam, burnt all the idols, and this was the end of this peace agreement 2 years after it was signed, in the year of 630. Means he breached the agreement which he himself signed. Muslims learn from this 2 things. First is, if you, Muslim, cannot defeat the infidels, you can give them a temporary peace. Second thing, when Allah, with His mercy, gives you, the Muslim, the ability and the opportunity to defeat them and to do to them what you should do, you do it, even if it is within the time of the peace agreement. These are 2 things which they derive from this precedent. And they commemorate this precedent time and again. The peace with Egypt was based on this. The peace with the Palestinians, that also agreements were based on this. And this is what Muslims can give to the infidels. Temporary peace, as Muhammad gave the infidels of Mecca in order to breach it when they can. I would buy it. I would buy a temporary peace with them. But I will make sure that means Israel, is invincible forever. And this will make a temporary peace forever. And this is the way. Wait. This is the way how to achieve peace in the Middle East. Because the Middle East is not like in this blessed country or Europe. In the Middle East, peace is given only to the invincible, to the one who succeeds to convince his foes that for their own good, they should leave him alone and they should not mess with him. This is the only peace which exists in the Middle East. And once Israel understands it, Israel will have peace. And lo and behold, if you look at the Israelis today, when they see this wave of stabbing, look at what happened there. Everyone who has a gun holds it all the time. People go around with knives in order to stab the other one before he stabs me. Hakam lehorgecha, hashkem lehorgo. And even I saw a picture of a woman sits in a bus with a rolling pin. Her husband might feel more secure these days, maybe. Okay? We are there to stay. We are there to fight. And when we have to fight, you fight. When you have to shoot, you shoot. And this is actually what Israel, we are doing this for 67 years already. Once in a while, when our neighbors forget that it is too dangerous to mess with us, they mess with us and they get it once and again. Unfortunately, but they might have short memory, just like women. My wife keeps saying if women had good memory, they would have one child. Okay. But our neighbors somehow have short memory, and they keep messing with us every time and again, hoping that this time they will find a way how to deter us, how to make us run away to New York, to Europe, to Auschwitz maybe better, or to other places as well. And here comes what Netanyahu said about Hajj Amin al-Hussein. What Netanyahu said was correct, 100%. The Mufti, the Palestinian Mufti, Mufti of Palestine, he was the one who recruited dozens of thousands of Muslims in Bosnia, in Yugoslavia, in order to guard the bridges of the trains which took the Jews from Hungary in 1944 to Auschwitz. If this is not taking part in the Holocaust, what is taking part in the Holocaust? So definitely Netanyahu was right by commemorating the Palestinian leaders' part in the Holocaust, which was another link in the chain of massacres of Muslims against the Jews. I think that the world didn't like it. The fact that Netanyahu took this thing from the archive, because the world tends to forget. The world wants to forget. The world wants to open new page, while those jihadists wait for this exactly, to open a page, to forget what they did before, to put everybody to sleep so they can do what Muhammad did to the infidels of Mecca 2 years after he signed with them peace for 10 years. We should not forget, and we should not forgive. We should remember, Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek, because they are no different from that Amalek. Because what they do to us is more or less the same. At least what they want to do to us. And you can go to YouTube, watch all these clips of their clerics stand with knives. Only recently one was published by Memory, how he take the knife and warns the Jews that not even one remain in Eretz Israel. Another one said it the same. So this is the problem. It's not about occupation of 67, it's about the occupation of 1948. Jews have no right, even according to their view, Jews have no right even to square millimeter in Tel Aviv, not to mention Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the most problematic from their point of view, because Jerusalem resembles the revivalism of Judaism, the coming back to life of Judaism, which they cannot fathom, because in their view, Judaism is null and void. And this is the whole thing. This is a jihad between Judaism and Islam, which is there to get rid of Judaism. The question is now, do we succumb to this discourse? Do we agree to this kind of thinking about us? Do we go along with this? Or do we resist it? And here we go back to Yirmiyahu. The two verses. First one, כי יש שכר לפעולתך נאום השם ושבו מארץ אויב. You will come back from the land of the enemy. The second one says, יש תקווה לאחריתך נאום השם ושבו בנים לגבולם. They will come back to their border. The difference is very clear. ושבו מארץ אויב, they will come back from exile. And Jews will be taken out of exile. ושבו בנים לגבולם means that exile will come out of the Jews. Means they will come back to their being people who defend themselves, people who go around with guns, with knives, yes, and with rolling pins as well, in order to defend themselves. The time of Auschwitz, which the Mufti, the Palestinian one, took part in, has passed to no return. Jews came back to the land of Rachel Imeinu in order to renew not only their sovereignty, they came to renew their culture as people who defend themselves, who fight for themselves, and yes, will kill them if they try to mess with us. And this is the message which we should tell them. And this is actually the difference. Can it wait a bit? And this actually is the difference between the two verses. This is why we needed two verses. Yeshayahu needed. The first is V'shavu be'eretz oyev, means they will come back to their land. And the second, Shavu ani ligvulam, means to their mindset, to how they acted before, how they behaved, and how they maintained their independence, their sovereignty, and their life. And this, I think, is the meaning of Ko amar Hashem min'i kolech mibechi ve'enayich midim'a. Oh Rachel, stop whining. Because when they come back, they will not only come back from exile, exile will go out from them. And I think this is the real meaning of the prophecy of Yirmiyahu in this place. Let's hope that with the organizations of the Rachel's Children Reclamation Foundation and many others, like Ateret Kohanim and so many other organizations which are there in Eretz Israel, we will return not only to our land, but also to our way of thinking, our way of behavior, our mentality as people who defend themselves, who do not let others stab them in the back or in the front, wherever they want, and we give fight, and we shoot instead of talking. Yes, we start talking, but then you can shoot. When you have to shoot, you shoot. And this is the only thing which will give Israel peace, because peace in the Middle East is given only to the invincible. Thank you very much.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support JBS, the Jewish Broadcasting Service, with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the JBS homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to GEM, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.